Hey there, welcome to Play Noggin. I'm Julian, your brains player 2. So far in this series, we've looked at elements that are specific to one game, but sometimes games share an idea that isn't central to the gameplay, but still plays an important role. A great example of this is force fields. Sure, they may have different names, personal shields, energy barriers, biotic fields, the list goes on, but the concept is always the same. A translucent barrier of energy keeps bad stuff out, and the good guy inside safe. At most, games will wave some science mumbo-jumbo at the player, and then we all move on with our lives. But scientifically, in the real world, how could a force field work? The most obvious answer is probably a magnetic field. It satisfies a lot of the video game tropes. It's invisible, it can be shaped something like the bubbles we always see, people pass through magnetic fields every day with no ill effects, and it has the potential to exert a force on some metals. For example, copper is not attracted to magnets, it's not ferromagnetic. But when it passes through a magnetic field, the magnet induces loops of electrical current in the copper called eddy currents. These in turn create their own magnetic field which oppose the one it's passing through, slowing the copper down. This concept is already in use to slow down roller coaster cars at the end of the ride. Since modern high-velocity rounds are made of lead inside a copper jacket, you may think we've figured out force fields and the episode's over. But there are complications. First off, the magnetic field needed to stop a speeding bullet just using the eddy currents in a thin copper jacket would have to be extremely strong, ludicrously strong, astronomically strong, stronger than the strongest electromagnets we've ever made, and those magnets destroy themselves. Strong enough that anything ferromagnetic in the area would come running like you rang a dinner bell. Even other materials we don't normally consider magnetic still exhibit weak repulsion or attraction to magnetic fields. All materials are diamagnetic, meaning they are repelled by a magnetic field, but the repulsion is so weak it can be overcome and then the object is paramagnetic. You can imagine how different elements heading to or pulling away from a strong magnetic field could have an adverse effect on your body's biological processes or the DNA in your cells, though no studies of how organic tissue reacts to a magnetic field this strong have ever been done. In modern medicine, transcranial magnets have been used to stimulate or inhibit neurons firing in the brain, so it's possible a magnetic field this powerful could cause brain damage to your brain. And with arms races being what they are, weapons makers could just make bullets out of materials that would not be affected by eddy currents, like certain ceramics, at which point the entire endeavor becomes pointless. So to recap, a magnetic barrier would have to be ludicrously powerful, could easily be circumvented, and might turn the person it's supposed to protect into jelly anyway. So what if, instead of slowing down a bullet, we annihilated the incoming hurt before it had the chance to ruin our day? A more effective solution might be to create a bubble of antimatter. Antimatter is like normal matter, except the charges are reversed. Instead of electrons, you have positrons. Instead of protons, you have antiprotons. When antimatter and matter meet, they annihilate each other, so incoming projectiles would be history. Best of all, antimatter is stored by suspending it in a magnetic field, but the magnetic field doesn't have to be like the crazy one from earlier, so it could conceivably form a bubble around us without boiling our blood. That's where the good things end though, because that antimatter-matter reaction doesn't just make bombs and bullets disappear in a puff of smoke, it converts the mass of them into pure energy in the form of gamma rays, and it's going to react with everything, literally anything it touches, not just the bullets. Things like, the air. Considering that 1 gram of antimatter reacting with matter would produce more energy than an atomic blast, it's also not an ideal candidate. The truth is, there's no realistic way to create a force field. Maybe it's fortunate that the idea is so widespread that we just accept that they work, because coming up with a realistic explanation of how is just about impossible. Thanks for watching. If you like this channel and want to see more, don't forget to subscribe. If there's a game or topic you'd like us to cover, tell us in the comments, and don't forget to keep on playing.